Good evening. I'm Pat O'Driscoll. I'm a member of the DFO board. I'm actually secretary, probably because I used to be a journalist, which is also the other probably because thing, because I'm also editor of the Lark Bunting. Um, and I've written a little bit about this guy and about our guest coming up in 2 weeks, which is the big enchilada. But this guy and the big enchilada are inextricably entwined in the history and the wonderfulness of what DFO is. You all know Joey. How can you not? I've written about him. I've described him as ageless, and he certainly is because. And I don't have the actual year on hand. Joey can answer that. He was president ages ago of DFO. He won the Ptarmigan Award ages ago. And for ages, he has been leading not only the signature fall and maybe spring as well trips to northeastern Colorado, to Jackson and Pruitt and all of those places where Joey has the birds eating out of his hand, but also the Big Sit out of Chatfield. Who's been to the Big Sit before?
2 weeks.
Not bad, Joey. Anyway, I'll skip all of the biographical stuff because I don't have that in hand and not handy. But one thing I want to say before Joey comes up to speak, and it's a nice tie-in to 2 weeks from tonight when we celebrate our 90th birthday with our most famous alumnus, Chris Wood, co-founder and director of eBird. And I hope every one of you and twice as many are here for that because it's going to be a big deal. And there's cake.
Incentive.
Anyway, I've been working with Sharon primarily for the last, ever since the beginning of the year on this sort of running history of DFO. And this week is deadline week, and the final of 4 parts will appear next week, about 10 days from now or so, in the next Lark Bunting. And through all of that, we've gotten to know a lot of people, including some of you here in this room. And one of the things that I did last time was a profile of Chris Wood, because it was the period when Chris was up and coming in the club. Up and coming as in he was a 7th grader. And guess who took him under his wing? Front and center. Joey Kellner. And out of that relationship, eBird, and Chris will tell us more about this in a couple of weeks. Sorry about that. Off. Because of that, Chris says that there's a lot of what happened at eBird is because of what happened here. And what happened to Chris here, a lot of that was because of Joey and other veterans of the club when Chris was just a 7th grade kid obsessed with birds. But to give you a sense of how that relationship grew, let's fast forward from 7th grade to, I think it was his junior year. And one day Chris was in school. I'm going to forget, help me out with who found the bird, Joey.
Oh, God. I couldn't even I couldn't tell you right now.
All right, well, we'll get back to it.
We'll get back to it.
A well-known birder at the time was birding at the open space, along Clear Creek.
No, we were dreaming.
Thank you.
Dick Shop.
Thank you. Yeah. Wheat Ridge Greenbelt, he comes upon a red-faced warbler. And for those of you who don't know, it shouldn't have been here. Just like the wood stork shouldn't have been here, and the Aninga shouldn't have been here, and the yellow grosbeak shouldn't have been here, but it was here. And this was back before rare bird alerts, except by phone, and it was like on the day of. And word got around quickly. Joey was out there. He got to go see the bird. And as soon as he had a moment, he picked up his phone and he called Chris Wood's school. And he said, and I'm paraphrasing, "I need to speak to Chris Wood. Can you please put me through to his class? It's very important." And they did. And Chris later said, "I didn't even know we had a telephone in the classroom." The telephone rings. His teacher answers. She says, "Chris, it's for you." He said, "Okay, all right." He goes to the phone, picks it up. "Hello? Joey. There's a red-faced warbler at the Wheat Ridge Greenbelt. You've got to go. Let me come get you." And Chris, and this is what is so lovely about this. Chris is at the end of the phone. The teacher's there. The kids are in class. We don't know if it was like he was like up here and everybody was watching, but they're there. And she's standing there, and he says, "Oh, really? Oh, thank you for telling me. Does my family know?" So he says, "Well, I'll try to get there as soon as I can." He hands the phone back to the teacher, and he says, "I'm really sorry, I have to go." And it was his English teacher, and she says, "Oh, no, please, Chris, go ahead." And so he races outside, and Chris was 16 by then, so he was of driving age. So Joey didn't come and pick him up, as some versions of the story tell it, but Chris went to the Wheat Ridge Greenbelt. And of course, when he got there, because again, there were no cell phones, there were no updates on the internet, there was nothing like that going on. He gets out there to the Wheat Ridge Greenbelt, and there's nobody there. But he knows where it's supposed to be, because he's such a damn good birder. And long story short, he bagged the bird, and we have tonight's guest to thank for that. So without further space filling from someone who doesn't know anything else to tell you about Joey, tonight's guest, Joey Kellner, Trogons, Hummers, and Roadrunners, birding the Sky Islands of Southeast Arizona.
The question I'm going to ask is how many people, which I can't see now, how many people have actually birded Southeast Arizona? So actually, if you could just turn the lights up for just a second, if you don't mind. I just want to see how many. Okay, now keep your hands up. For the people that were on one of my 3 trips, drop your hands. I just want to see who's left. Okay, quite a few people. Quite a few people have birded that. Very good. Okay, go ahead. So when you talk about Arizona, you get a lot of people thinking, okay, what about Arizona? They think of the gunfights at Tombstone, right? Some think about the Grand Canyon, and rightfully so. Still others think of sand, heat, death, dead cactus. And yet others think of the iconic saguaro cactus. All would be right. It is a big state. You got all this high elevation stuff up in the north, and you've got this thing right here that you can see in blue. It's called the Mogollon Rim. Some people call it Mogollon Rim, tomato. This rim, as an average, it's all different elevations, but as an average, it's about 7,000 feet above sea level. You drop off of this going on, say, Highway 17 down to Phoenix, you'll drop off of it about 3,000 to 4,000 feet to get down into this area, which is your desert. This area in this orange and yellow, this is your the Sonoran Desert. And over here, you've got the Chihuahuan Desert. Now, all of this is basically surrounding these couple mountain chains. Here's the Chiricahuas. You've got the Santa Catalinas, the Santa Ritas, the Huachucas. These are all called Sky Islands. Why are they called Sky Islands? These are basically mountains that reach up. Some, like the Chiricahuas, are over almost 10,000 feet high. And they're about 6,000 feet above the valley floor. So they get up way up into the, quote, skies. But basically, they're islands of mountain habitat surrounded by desert. So there are all these isolated mountain chains. Now, why is that important? Well, you got to look at what's all coming together here. So here's all those mountain chains right here. They're all roughly parallel. You've got the Sonoran Desert influence from the west, the Chihuahuan and Great Plains habitats from the east, the Rocky Mountains, think Stellar's jays, mountain chickadees from up north. But they're all basically coming together at the very north end of the Sierra Madre Occidental. And this whole set of mountainous habitat reaches into the U.S. only in southeast Arizona and the Palencios right there in New Mexico. So it brings a lot of stuff from Mexico that you're not going to find anywhere else in the U.S. Unless, of course, something strays like a red-faced warbler or a yellow grosbeak, which birds have wings. So here's an example of what one of these Sky Islands looks like. This was actually taken from about halfway up the Catalina Mountains, which are just north of Tucson. I'm looking across, so I'm looking from the north to the south. This is Tucson. This is actually the east part of Tucson. Tucson's huge. Most of the rest of Tucson's over this way. I'm looking down toward the Santa Rita Mountains. If you know the Santa Rita Mountains or have heard of them, the famous canyon there is Madeira Canyon. But that's what a Sky Island looks like. And as you go up from the desert, and this is all Sonoran Desert habitat around Tucson, as you go up, the temperatures get cooler, the rainfall goes up. Speaking of rainfall, Arizona has two rainy seasons, the winter, which are basically orographic rains, or orographic storms, regional. They're region-wide. They're just gentle, soaking kind of rains that kind of come and go throughout the winter. Unfortunately, the last few years, they have not had much in the way of their winter rains, which was really evident this year. The other rains they get are summer monsoons, usually starting in July and going through early September. And these are very isolated. They'll drop water on mountains, they'll drop water out in the desert, but they drop it in a real small area and they drop a lot of it. If you see something like this with all this rain coming down, and if you're walking a trail that's either in a wash or whatnot, get out of the wash, because the water will come down so fast, it'll take you by surprise. You'll hear it, but you won't realize what you're hearing until it's basically too late. A couple of years ago, we got stuck in one of these and started driving back out of the hills, going through one wash after another, and the water was getting deeper and deeper as we went through. And finally, the last one, we stopped. We said, A local came by in a pickup truck, and we rolled the windows down, still pouring rain. And we said, well, we're just going to wait till it goes down. And he looked at it, he says, I got a pickup. He went in. He was gone. He went in, the water turned his pickup truck sideways, off the edge of the embankment he went, and he disappeared. He was gone. It was a very quiet, solemn drive back to the hotel that night. But we did find out the next day from Cochise County Search and Rescue. They did find him. He was basically about 3/4 of a mile down the wash. It had blown him across the San Pedro River. He was on the west side of the San Pedro River. And the San Pedro River was flowing pretty good that day. Normally, these big rivers, the San Pedro River, the Santa Cruz, they're like a little trickle. When you get a monsoon, they can be about 1/4 mile wide and 5 to 6 feet deep, and they're just roaring. And literally, if you just wait in an hour, it's nothing. It's amazing how fast this water moves. So when you see monsoon rains, you got to beware.
They found him alive?
They found him alive. He was alive. He was banged up. I've got pictures of his pickup truck that all banged up and full of debris, rocks, and everything. No windows left, no nothing. I mean, it was in bad shape. But no, they found him alive. He was. I don't think he'll ever do that again. But the one nice thing that the rains do, especially like in August, these particular monsoon rains, they bring on what is called the second spring. This is not a doctored photo. This is what it looks like. This was in the Pajarito Mountains, just northwest of Nogales. This was mid-August, and things just green up like you wouldn't believe. The heat of summer is usually the end of May through early July, and then the monsoons hit. So everything starts to die, shrivel up, flowers disappear, and then the rains hit, and usually within a week, everything's green. It recovers so fast, it's not even funny. These monsoon rains bring a lot of wind. There's a lot of air movement with that, which brings up a lot of dust out of the Sonoran Desert and creates these beautiful, spectacular sunsets. It's a great place to take photos. Just find a nice cactus you like and wait for sunset. And almost every night it's like this because all this dust and stuff is all up in the upper atmosphere there. So I've had the privilege of having 21 participants from DFO here go on the trips the last 3 years. And most of these photos, there's a few of them are mine. Most are these people. And their initials are on each photograph, either on the lower left or the lower right corners. And so you'll see a lot of these. We'll see a lot of great photos. There's a lot of photos. We're going to kind of go kind of quick, but we'll get there. So all the Sky Islands, every single one of them, whether it's the Chiricahuas, the Santa Ritas, the Huachucas, you name it, they're all similar. They all have the same habitats, the same biomes. The main difference is both height and the mass of the mountain. The Chiricahuas being the most massive, again, almost 10,000 feet, 6,000 feet above the Sulphur Springs Valley. It gets up into some of the highest habitat. The only other difference between all of them is accessibility. The Chiricahuas, you can go up to the high, you can drive up to the highest habitats. Same thing with the Catalinas north of Tucson. The Santa Rita's, Madeira Canyon, you can only get up to the pines. You have to hike the rest. There's a lot of trails, and it's actually some great hikes up that way. But that's just the differences. Other than that, today we're just going to do a really rapid tour. My trips, we're doing 12 days, 10 days actually in habitat. We're going to do this in 45 minutes. We got a lot of birds to cover. I've got slides of 80 species. So it is a lot. We're going to go quick. Just to give you an idea of how that compares, we had 227 species this year on that trip. So there's a lot of birds. Not all of them are specialty birds for Arizona, but there's still a lot of birds. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first place we're going to start is really not a Sky Island. It's not even really the desert. It's in the Chihuahuan Desert. This is Lake Cochise at the Wilcox Playa. It's basically right dead center of the Sky Islands. It's a big valley, Sulphur Valley Springs. The old Wilcox Playa dried up about 10,000 years ago. It's about 80 square miles of just sand. This habitat here at Lake Cochise was basically created by the town of Wilcox. Rather than take their treated wastewater and dump it down into an aquifer or into a river, they decided, let's create some wildlife habitat. And that's what they did. And it's amazing for birds. There's no specialty Arizona birds here, but if you're going to go to Arizona, it never hurts to stop, because this year, for example, we had something like 47 species got added to our list just at this location. And there's, common birds, not rare, but, white-faced ibis, avocets. Here's a redneck phalarope, coots, long-billed curlew, black-necked stilt. Here's a red phalarope. That's a rare one for Arizona. That was a good one this year, as well as snowy plover, Here's a killdeer. But he was kind of tormenting this American golden plover, which is another good Arizona bird. They don't get many of them. And there's very few playa type habitats in Arizona. Most of them are sewage treatment plants that you go for shorebirds. And you don't get a lot of them. This is one of the best places to go for those. But let's move on. Chihuahuan Desert. This is what's in the very, very, very lower right corner, if you will, of Arizona. So this the southeast corner. The Chihuahuan Desert is basically characterized by high seasonal rains, both winter rains, monsoon rains. It's a higher elevation than the Sonoran Desert. And by being higher, it's overall cooler, and they actually have hard freezes. And that's why there's not that many, quote, cactuses that you see there. You see some prickly pear and things, but saguaros do not survive in the Chihuahuan Desert because of that kind of cold temperatures. And so what we're talking about here is this desert scrub, the lowest layer here. Both the Chihuahuan and the Sonoran Desert are down in this at this level. We'll see this picture lots of times, and I'll keep pointing it out as we move up the mountain, so to speak. One of the plant associations with the Chihuahuan Desert are these sotals, which are really kind of cool. Shoot up and flower. Hummingbirds love them in season. This is the east side of the Chiricahuas, but you can see all this scrub. It's basically acacia, creosote, mesquites. Once again, here Linda did a great job. This is an amazing photo. This is the east side, the east entrance of the Chiricahuas, which are beautiful. But you can see all this desert scrub type habitat. And in this habitat, we have things like this, Inca dove. Now, just like Colorado, there's not all species sit there and stay to one habitat. Actually, very few. Like Colorado, we get mountain chickadees way up high. We get them mid-height. We get them down low in the foothills. In the wintertime, we'll get them out on the plains. Inca doves are in both desert habitats, both the Chihuahuan and the Sonoran desert habitats. Best way to usually to find these guys is just by their call. It's a no hope. It goes. When you hear that, you know there's an Inca dove around. Another ubiquitous bird of both deserts and a little bit higher elevations is white-winged doves, which are really cool with that nice blue facial skin. So here's one of our nice specialties, Bendire's thrasher, only in the Chihuahuan Desert. It can be found around near Lake Cochise, because that's also Chihuahuan Desert, and east of the Chiricahuas. Best identified by song. And believe it or not, Merlin is actually pretty good in Arizona. It's not perfect, but it's actually pretty good for a lot of the specialty birds. This is a crystal thrasher, identified best by the black mylar, the white throat, and the reddish undertail coverts. That's a specialty one. They're hard to find. They're a lot of times in washes and things, but you got to do a lot of wash walking to find one. This one was actually coming to a gentleman's feeders in Portal. Black-throated sparrows. These guys will sing in the middle of a 114-degree day. They'll sing, they'll call, they'll be active. I don't know why their little brains don't just like burst or something, you know, but they're around. We've got small populations in Colorado too, but they're extremely common down in southeast Arizona. It's a desert bird. This is an Abert's towhee, similar to the brown towhees that we have here, and they do have brown towhees there as well. The difference is our brown towhees have a nice little necklace and a dark spot in the center of their chest. Abert's towhees don't have that, but they have this black facial feathering, which is really distinctive of Abert's towhees. Scott's Orioles. We do have some in Colorado. We don't have a lot of them, but we do have some, but they're pretty common in Chihuahuan habitat. This is a male. The females don't have the black hood, and the yellows are a little more muted than this. Again, the participants took some great photos. Here's a Paraloxia. Related to cardinals. Sound very similar to cardinals. And they are also in both deserts, both Chihuahuan and in Sonoran Desert. Northern cardinal, which is a surprise to some people who go to Arizona for the first time. They're actually quite common in the deserts. Young ones look like this, but have a black bill. And the first time you see one of those, it'll throw you through a loop going, what am I looking at? But they're pretty common. And it's always fun to see a cardinal. Anything with red is pretty cool. So now we're going to transition over toward Tucson to the upper Sonoran Desert. This is what most people think of as the desert in Arizona. Again, it's got the same high seasonal rains, winter rains, summer monsoons. It's a lower elevation, much hotter temperatures. If you ever look at the average temperature in the summertime of Phoenix, you're lucky if it gets below 110. Usually it's somewhere between 110 and 125. It gets toasty. So again, we're still talking desert scrub, so we're still down in here. We're just in a different elevation of desert in Arizona. This is what it looks like. This is Saguaro National Park East. This is the Santa Catalina Mountains behind here. And as you can see, there's saguaros all over the place. Saguaros are very common. It's actually a very good bird plant, both the flower, the nectar it produces, the cavities that woodpeckers carve out is used by a lot of critters. The best time to do it in Saguaro National Park is a great place to go birding because there's roads. You could just park in different parking spots, walk a road a little bit, hop back in your car, drive a little further. You can see all the birds of the Sonoran Desert by just driving this road and getting out and walking. For example, Gambel's quail, and this is on top of a saguaro, and it's a high saguaro. This is a great fish. Courtney did a good job with this one. How she pulled that out, I don't know at that distance, but they're a very distinctive call, and you'll hear them all over the Sonoran Desert. And yes, they also get into the Chihuahuan Desert and higher habitats too. So there's a male and female on the left. And of course, you got Rob Raker kind of getting his little pictures of the little chicks or whatnot. And it's fun to just watch them run around. They are so cute. And they're everywhere. Here's your Roadrunner. Now, this one was actually interesting. Robert Tong got a great photo of this. We pulled into Nogales into our hotel. And here's this Roadrunner. He grabs this house sparrow and proceeds to kill it and eat it. And it's like, wow, I'm checking in. I come out and they're telling me about this. It's like, well, there you go. Roadrunners will eat anything that moves. They go for snakes and lizards mostly, but they'll go for birds. They'll go for whatever moves. They're carnivorous and they're good at it, apparently. Nighthawks. Common nighthawk is not common in Arizona, except for migration. Lesser nighthawk is the common nighthawk in Arizona, especially down in the desert areas. Voice distinguishes the two, but actually wings distinguish them too as well. Common nighthawks have this outer primary longer than the next one in. So it gives it that really pointed wing look, really pointed wings, where lesser nighthawks, that outer primary is actually shorter than the one next to it. So the inner one is actually the longest one, not the outer one, giving it a really rounded wing look. They also fly a lot lower and zigzag back across water, across the desert landscape, getting bugs and insects. And they have a really high-pitched twittery call. Anna's hummingbird. And this is just a great example of what light can do to gorget feathers on hummingbirds. Usually I think of them as pink, but when I saw Rob's photo of this one, it's like, wow, that's pretty cool. That's a neat looking color, the way the light's shining on it. It's a male Anna's hummingbird. They're fairly common down in the Sonoran deserts and probably the next habitat or so up in the oak juniper stuff. They readily come to feeders, as you can see here. Costa's hummingbird. This is a true Sonoran desert dweller. They do not go above the Sonoran Desert. Very, very rarely, if at all. They have these little handlebar type gorget feathers that come down. And when they turn, I mean, they literally just stick out. But it's a really unique dark purple shade on the throat and on the head. You can't really see it well here. Again, light does a lot of stuff with gorget feathers and allowing them to show off to their prime advantage. and they have a very high-pitched breeding call. I mean, it's like a psst. I mean, it's really high pitch. Harris's hawks. Sonoran Desert has Harris's hawks, and it is one of the only raptors in the world that hunts communally. They hunt as a group, chasing rabbits. Some will start chasing while the others will do the ambush. This is a young one on the left. You can tell by the around the eyes, the cere extends up and about the eye. Plus, it's got really nice fresh tail feathers. Where the adult on the right here does not have, it's a little more worn plumage, but they're common in the Sonoran deserts. You'll see them sometimes perched on saguaros and whatnot. Elf owls. Elf owls love saguaro cactus. Gila woodpeckers, gilded flickers. There's a lot of birds that build nests that'll make the nest hole in the saguaros form. But they also breed all the way up into the canyons, at least into the lower oak, right at the edge of the oak pine type forest. So Madeira Canyon in the Santa Ritas near Tucson, or way down at the Chiricahuas up Cave Creek Canyon. This one here was actually at Madeira Canyon. This one was just outside of Ash Canyon Bed and Breakfast. This gentleman actually has a phone pole, an old phone pole that they've been using for a long time. And when they replaced the pole, he said, "Don't take the old one down." So they said, sign a release waiver that if it falls and kills somebody, it's not our fault. He signed it, and all of this here is to try to keep acorn woodpeckers from getting in and bothering them. But it's the smallest owl in the world, and they're cute little guys. And thankfully, in March, April, and May, they're very vocal. So you could just walk up in the canyons and just listen, and you'll hear them. This is a ladderback woodpecker. Again, they're also down in the saguaros in the Sonoran Desert, quite common, and they're also get up into the oak juniper type habitat. If you get to places where there's feeders and stuff, they commonly come to the feeders and suet. This is a male. Gilded flicker. This is again Sonoran habitat as well as riparian between the Sky Islands. This particular one was in the Santa Cruz River area along the De Anza Trail. They look like northern flickers. However, they have yellow. They don't have the red that are northern flickers. There are no yellow shafted flickers in Arizona. Crested caracara. This is a nest that all 3 trips, for 3 years in a row, we have visited this nest, and they've raised young every single year. But they're fun to watch. We usually show up late in the day to have decent light for photos and all that, and we do pretty good. But it's a common predator of raptor in the Sonoran Desert. Vermilion flycatchers, female on the left, male on the right. Usually pretty partial to water. You can sometimes find them around golf courses in Tucson or Phoenix. Almost any little body of water will have them. Lake Cochise that we were seeing earlier, that wastewater treatment wetland area, it's got them there as well. Very common, very pretty. Ash-throated flycatcher. Yes, we have these in Colorado. We have a fair number of them, but I'm showing you this because there are 2 more Myarchus flycatchers. This is the genus Myarchus. They got these rusty wings, rusty tails, nice little bushy crest. This is the most common one. This is the one that you will find down in the Sonoran Desert. Typically, as you go up is when we'll find the other 2, and we'll get to those here in just a little bit. But Linda Kuniko took a really nice photo there. Bell's Vireo. Bell's Vireos, we have them in eastern Colorado. This is a different race. It's not a different species yet. It's a different race, but they're quite common in the washes out of the desert. So where you've got things like Palo Verdes and things growing, you'll find these guys just singing their hearts out. It's a cool little vireo, pretty nondescript. Verdon. These guys are cool looking. These guys are neat looking. You find them out in the deserts. You'll find them. You'll actually find them in both deserts. This one will be in Sonoran Desert and the Chihuahuan Desert. This one was actually coming to a feeder at Dave Jasper in Portal, his feeders. My trips have we've stopped at several. There's a whole circuit of different feeders you can hit for different birds, and we'll get to some of the specialty birds in a little while here. But it's a common bird that'll come, and usually they go for the jelly. A lot of the people out there, they feed suet, they feed seed, they've got jelly, they've got oranges, they've got you name it, and they get all sorts of cool birds. But verdon is just a neat little bird. So these are purple martins. This is the Hesperia race. They nest in Arizona almost exclusively in saguaro cactus. At some point, they may end up splitting purple martins into 3 species. The eastern one that basically now only uses man-made martin houses. The western ones, which use aspens, both here in Colorado and in the Pacific Northwest. And then these guys, these are the smallest of the purple martins. And again, they'll use the holes that cactus wrens and gilded flickers and all that produce in the saguaro cactus. Black-tailed gnatcatcher. Unlike our gnatcatchers, our blue-gray gnatcatchers we have in Colorado, blue-grays don't have this black cap, and they don't have an all-black top to the tail. They usually have white outer tail feathers for the blue-gray. These guys have a really scratchy, almost like they have a sore throat kind of call. But they love the Sonoran Desert, and that's where you find these guys. And they're pretty common, actually. Speaking of cactus wren, there's a cactus wren. And I had to include another one because this one is just such a deep picture that Rob Raker took. I mean, it's on a log at Dave Jasper's place. Dave Jasper puts peanut butter all on this log and stuff, and so the birds come in, and this was one bird that came in, but it's just a really nice picture of a cactus wren. And you'll hear these guys all over the place, especially down in the Sonoran Desert. If you go out into, like, say, Saguaro East, first thing in the morning, little by little, you start hearing each species kind of come alive. You start hearing, oh, here's the call of this. Oh, here's this thing calling it. Cactus wrens are one of the top calls that you hear all around. Curve-billed thrasher. We have these in Colorado, down around Pueblo and Canyon City and all. Just like the ash-throated flycatcher, I'm including this because there's other ones. So you've already seen the Ben Dyer's thrasher. You've seen the photos of the crystal thrasher. This is just another thrasher that's out in Arizona. They're very vocal, the little tweet, 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 tweet. In the mornings, I mean, you just hear them all over the place, doing that little double tweet, 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 tweet. It's a cool bird. Phainopepla. Pat Cullen's the only person who got a picture of a phainopepla. I was surprised. I couldn't find another good. This was a great picture. It's one of the only silky flycatchers in the U.S. There's another one, gray silky, that shows up once in a blue moon. I think there's like 2 or 3 records down in Texas. This one regularly breeds in the Sonoran Desert. One of the main food items are mistletoe berries. And there's a lot of mistletoe out in like the Palo Verde and stuff. It's not the kind of mistletoe that you think that kills the plant, the host plant. The mistletoe in Arizona does not kill the host plant, but it does produce a lot of berries that the phainopeplas love. Rufous-winged sparrow, another species, another Sonoran Desert species that really doesn't get much out of the Sonoran Desert. It doesn't really even go to adjacent habitats. It really likes that hot, dry stuff. Here's your hooded oriole. Different from the Scots oriole in that it's just got the throat. So why it's called hooded, I can't tell you that. Kind of seems a little bit of a misnomer there, but yep. And again, they readily come to the feeders and stuff, and you can get good looks at them. And here's Lucy's warbler. We've been having more and more of these show up in Colorado, which is kind of neat. To see Lucy's warbler, you got to be there March, April, May, maybe into June. By the time the monsoons hit in July, August, most of these are down in Mexico. Most have left. If you find one after say mid-August, you count yourself very lucky that you happen to catch one. But it's a really cool bird. It's got usually a little bit of a rusty cap and this nice rusty color rump. So now between these islands, you got a lot of river bottoms, the Santa Cruz River, the San Pedro River. The river bottoms actually have a lot of good habitat. You know, nice deciduous trees, there's cottonwoods, there's all sorts of things. And things that love to hunt along here, because the highways are also along these lower river valleys. Black vultures, which love to eat all the carrion and things that cars end up hitting over time. Nice white primaries. And really compact. It has a very short tail, very broad wing compared to turkey vulture. Black VBs, which we now have black VBs in Colorado, and they've been expanding, and lately they've been kind of contracting. Not sure why exactly, but a couple theories out there, but we'll wait and see. Time will tell. Usually found near water. Again, pardon?
Sorry, he's been using the post a lot.
Yep, you could tell. He's just whitewashing it. These are tropical kingbirds. Have a really high-pitched twittery call. You can tell by the forked tails, brown tails. Again, common near water. They're almost always found near some kind of water, either a creek, a golf course pond, something like that. Cassin's kingbirds, which we have in Colorado, but they're also down there as well. Really dark chest compared to our western kingbirds. Dark chest, white throat. If you can see the tail, there's a nice little buff color edge across the whole back of the tail. It doesn't have the white that comes up the side like a western kingbird does. Thick-billed kingbird, which now Colorado's got like 4 records of. They're getting to be more and more common and found in more and more places in Arizona now. It used to be the place to go was the Patagonia roadside rest, which is famous in and of itself just because one birder went there and found a good bird, and other people went to chase that good bird and found more good birds, and they called it the Patagonia effect. Now these guys are all over the place, but this was one of the common birds that used to be found only in the Patagonia roadside rest. Okay, desert grasslands. So now as you go up the hill from the low deserts and your little riparian areas that we just talked about, you get to these desert grasslands. And they look kind of like this. This is the San Pedro River. And you can see they're starting to get encroached by a lot of the acacias. Grazing has actually started to cause that. This one, this is the Las Ciénegas refuge. They've actually done a lot of removal, or trying to do a lot of removal of the acacias to preserve the grasslands. These grasslands are one of the major wintering places for our chestnut-collared and thick-billed longspurs, and a lot of our sparrows winter down in these grasslands. This and further south, the San Rafael grasslands in Arizona. So they're trying to kind of protect the grasslands themselves. But as you can see, it's cattle are carrying the seeds around. They eat the seed pods, carry them around, droppings, nice fertilizer. There they go. But in this habitat, this grassy kind of habitat, you got things like bottom-rice sparrows, which some of them breed in the spring. A lot of them breed after the monsoon rains start. That second spring, you'll get bottom-rice sparrows and Cassin sparrows that'll breed out in these grasslands. Cute little sparrows. And Chihuahuan meadowlarks. Notice how white that face is, and there's no yellow mylar that like a western meadowlark would have. And they're a lot paler than eastern meadowlarks. They have a song like eastern meadowlark, very similar, but they're very, very pale. So now we're going to start going up the Sky Island here. We're now going to get into this oak woodland type habitat here, which looks kind of like this. This is actually Madeira Canyon. This is actually out the back of the Santa Rita Lodge where we stayed. Montezuma quail. These guys are a bugger to find. They find you. If you're gonna see one, it's gonna find you. You can try. You can hear them a lot of times. I know on this year's trip we heard them up Box Canyon near Madeira, and they kind of sound like a. I mean, it's really loud, so you know they're out there. It's like trying to find one. Good luck. But they're cool. They got this nice little harlequin kind of face pattern. They're just neat little quail. They're only about like this big. They're just these little round quail, they're pretty cool. Common ground dove. This is one that again you find usually near water. We had them at the Patton Center for Hummingbirds, which is along Sonoyta Creek, and we've also had them along Proctor Road in Madeira Canyon. Again, best found detected by their call, which is just and you sometimes don't even hear it. It doesn't register, and as you're doing other birding, suddenly you're like, "Hey, wait, I'm hearing a ground dove." It's like background noise, but they're cute little doves. They're tiny little doves. They're about the size of a white-crowned sparrow. They're small. Common ground dove. So this is a common four-wheel, which we do have in Colorado, but they're also down in the lower elevations in Arizona. As you go up into the pine oak forest, you start getting things like the Mexican whippoorwill. And they're very vocal at night. They're cool to see, cool to hear. You hear more of them than you ever see. But they're just this cool cryptic coloring. It's just neat birds. Both of these are river-leased hummingbirds, formerly known as magnificent. And again, it just shows you what light does to show off on these males, this purple and this turquoise, and they're just beautiful. They're big. The only hummingbird that's bigger is blue-throated mountain gem. But they readily come to feeders, Madeira Canyon, most feeders up in the kind of the lower mountains. So again, these pine oak or oak juniper habitats. This is probably the most common hummingbird in Arizona, broad-billed hummingbird. They come to everybody's feeders. You find them at flowers out in the middle of nowhere. They're very pretty. And they have these nice red bills. This kind of blue fading into green color. They're very pretty and very photogenic. Common blackhawk. Kind of like a turkey vulture, and they have really thick, wide wings, short tail, but they got nice little tail band, and they don't have those really bold white outer primaries. But they love this kind of habitat, this oak juniper type habitat. Usually found near water. In this case, Madeira Canyon's got the creek that comes through. They can be found down in the Pajaritos near Nogales, along Ruby Road. Grayhawks. This is an adult. Kind of reminds you of a gray broad-winged hawk. It's the same genus. They're very closely related. These are desert dwellers. This is a young one. Very different from a young broad-winged, and they've got this big white cheek patch. But they're very common when you get down south of Tucson. Zone-tailed hawk. I found these guys now in so many different habitats. I'm not even sure which habitat to pin this thing to. So I put it here. We found them along the San Pedro River, down between the Sky Islands in the low riparian. We've seen them up at the Santa Rita Lodge in the evenings when they come in with the turkey vultures come in by the dozens, almost 100, 200. And every once in a while, you'll get a zone tail that'll pop in with them, which is kind of cool. And the bird everybody wants to see. Everybody wants to see trogons. So they love to nest in sycamores, and there's sycamores in a lot of the drainages, usually where there's a dense stand of sycamores. And they use old woodpecker holes, or when a branch breaks off, it's very soft wood, so it rots out really fast. This is a male. It's a female, the little white mark here. Not very satisfying looks until you actually see one with the colors. And they pop. It's a beautiful bird. Everybody wants to see. The birds are about yay tall. top of head, tail. So they're a good sized bird. Very pretty and very colorful. But they love those stream-side sycamores. Acorn woodpeckers. These things are everywhere. And they're very noisy. And they're in family groups. And they stash acorns. But they'll come, they're not proud. They'll come to a hummingbird feeder and sip sweet nectar. They're goofy looking. Gila woodpeckers. These guys are all over the place in this habitat too. They create a lot of the nest holes for a lot of the other cavity nesting birds, including Trogons. But they readily come to feeders. In this case, you can see even oranges. They're very closely related to golden-fronted woodpeckers down in Texas. As you see, they look kind of similar. This is the only all brown-backed woodpecker in North America. Used to be called Strickland's woodpecker. Actually, it used to be called Arizona woodpecker. Then it became Strickland's woodpecker. Then it went back to Arizona woodpecker. Male and female. Male, little red spot. Females do not have that. It's a neat little woodpecker. Again, endemic of Arizona. This is a bird whose name is way too big. Think of a Western kingbird. This bird is half the size of a Western kingbird. It's tiny. Northern beardless tyrannulet. They've got a very loud song to make up for it, though. But yeah, their name is ridiculously long compared to the size of the bird. But it's a cool Arizona bird. Here's one of the other Myarchus flycatchers. This is dusky capped. This one has a really mournful call, and you'll hear it echoing through the canyon walls and whatnot. When you see them, one of the ways to identify them, not only by call, which is probably the best way, they have the rusty in the wings. They do not have rust in the tails that all the other Myarchus do. So that's another good way to tell. And it's a small Myarchus flycatcher. It's the smallest of the Myarchus. And followed up with the largest, which is brown-crested, which again is a really cool whip-will-do type call. Very vocal, but again, has the rusty in the wings and in the tail, and it's a good-sized bird. Sulfur-bellied flycatcher. These guys don't come into Arizona. They don't migrate into Arizona until usually mid to late May. This year we saw one, and actually it was only like 3 people out of the group that saw the one. The other years we had them. They were already in and they were calling and everything else, but it's a really neat flycatcher. It's large. It's about the size of a thick-billed kingbird, so bigger than a Western kingbird that we have here, but neatly patterned, and it's a pretty bird. Hutton's vireo looks like a kinglet. Does not sound like a kinglet at all. One of the best ways to tell is, again, the song. It's got several different versions of the song, but in general, the cadence is the same. They pick some note, and then they'll repeat it. It might be lower, it might be higher. It's this. That's how you can tell. It's very monotonous. But they're cute little birds. Hutton's vireo. Mexican jay, formerly known as gray-breasted jay. These hunt looking for acorns, food, potato chips. They're not proud. They'll take handouts. They actually, their whole mating and breeding strategy is groups. Usually it's a dominant male-female, and usually the ones that are with them, and these are usually in groups of anywhere from 5 or 6 to almost 20. All the other ones are multiple generations of young. So they're all helping the primary parents raise the young. So they're learning how to eventually be parents, and the young are well tended because they've got lots of food coming to them. So it's a really great breeding strategy, and it's a very successful strategy for Mexican jays. But they're all over the place, and you usually hear them long before you see them. And they come through in a big noisy band, and then they're gone. And you're like, that was cool. Bridled titmouse. There's very few chickadees in southern Arizona. Mountain chickadees up high on occasion in the wintertime. But when you get down into this kind of habitat, there are no chickadees. Instead, you've got these guys that kind of take their place. And they're cute. And they're all over the place. You can find them at feeders. You can just find them out in the pinyon juniper type habitat, the oak habitat, even all the way up into some of the higher pines. Black-chinned sparrow. This is a tough one. This one likes hillsides with junipers, almost exclusively. They've been found near Portal in the very southeast corner by the Chiricahuas. This one was up in Santa Catalinas, just north of Tucson, really dry hillside. We decided, let's give this a try, and sure enough, one popped up. It was the first one I've ever seen in Arizona, so it was kind of neat. They're there, they're just not easy to find. Bronze cowbird, nice red eye, almost an evil red eye. It's just kind of freaky looking actually, but it's a big cowbird. Usually you find them hit any of the feeders and stuff. Usually you'll find them either in Portal, you find them in Madera Canyon, you find them in a lot of places. The Patton Center for Hummingbirds has bronze cowbirds. They're kind of cool. Summer tanager. We do have some of these in Colorado. I put it here because we've got a couple other tanagers that Arizona has that we'll cover here. Note, red wings, red back, red cheek, white bill. That's key for summer tanager. Because then you get things like these guys, which are actually pretty rare. This is more like a rare bird alert type thing or an eBird alerts. These are flame color tanagers. The female and the male up Miller Canyon that we had this year. They got the white wing bars, faint kind of white wing bars, gray cheeks, gray bills, and blackish wings. So now we're going to move up a little higher. We're going to go up into the pine oak stuff. So we're going to go up in this habitat now. So now we're leaving a lot of the grasses, the junipers or whatnot, and we're looking at habitat like this. This is in the Santa Catalina Mountains, where we just, again, walk the roads. It's a lot of what we did. We walked actually very few trails. We did walk a few, but most of it's just birding at feeders, walking roads in habitat, and just watching, listening, seeing what's about. But this kind of habitat, especially along creek bottoms, is where you get blue-throated mountain gems. And that's the largest North American hummingbird, minus the rare plain-cap starthroat, but they do show up in Arizona on occasion, but those are the rare ones. But a beautiful hummingbird. This is at the Southwest Research Station outside of Portal. Whiskered screech owl. In the Chiricahuas, there's a pretty distinct line, which is actually really interesting. Below 5,000 feet, they're western screech owls. Above, they're whiskered screech owls. Don't know why. Madera Canyon, if you walk down the road from the Santa Rita Lodge, you can have both of them calling on different sides of the road. Very distinctive calls. These guys sound more like a Morse code, like a dee 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 dee. I mean, it's kind of weird, but they're cool. There's a lot of owls in Arizona. Yellow-eyed junco. Looks like a gray-headed, but doesn't. Gray-headeds are dark-eyed juncos. Let's face it; these guys are yellow-eyed juncos, and they're in this habitat, this pine oak, all the way up into the pine fir forest. Red-faced warblers. We were talking about those a little bit ago. Beautiful birds. Painted redstarts. Both of these are actually fairly common. It's just trying to get one to cooperate. We can actually get a picture is a little more challenging. Wasn't challenging for my participants. They got some great shots. Here's a hepatic tanager. So this, again, notice it doesn't have the red wings. It's got gray wings. Gray cheek, gray bill. Gray cheek, gray bill. Female, male. So now we're going to go up into the pine and fir forest. I don't distinguish because they kind of blend in, and I have a difficult time telling. So basically we're looking in this. These are some of the highest of your sky islands. So the Catalinas, the Huachucas, if you can get up there high enough, most of it you'll have to hike to get to that, or the Chiricahuas, you can drive up to like Rustler Park, Barfoot, and you actually get into that habitat, which looks like this. So you're pretty far up in the hills. Lots of pines, Apache pine, Chiricahua pine, white pine, Doug fir. It's actually kind of pretty there. And another reason to bird the low deserts early in the morning is as it heats up, you go up in here because it's like 20, 25 degrees cooler up in the mountains. So you spend the rest of your day up here, the heat of the day, in a nice cool area, seeing different birds. But you get things like spotted owl, Mexican spotted owls, which are cool. And they're very obliging and just kind of sit there and look at you. And it's like, you looking at me? Greater peewees. These are the ones that sound like a Jose Maria. Big, wide yellow bills or orangish bills. Very broad. And then you got one of the smallest little empids, buff-breasted flycatcher. Cute little guys, really tiny, thin little bills. And Mexican chickadee, which can only be found in the Chiricahuas, the top of the Chiricahua Mountains. Looks like kind of like a black-capped chickadee. The throat patch extends much further down than black-capped chickadee, and black-capped chickadees have a nice buffy side. The sides on these guys are gray, and it's the only the Chiricahuas, that one sky island, has them. So if you want that, that's where you got to go. Olive warbler. This is a female. Males have kind of a burnt orange color head versus the yellow on the females. It's a very sought after. They're way up in the treetops. Trying to coax one down is very, very difficult. You hear them more often than you see them, but they're there. So now you got some more specialty kind of things. Steep rocky canyons. This is Box Canyon in the Santa Rita Mountains near Madera Canyon. Another reason to go first thing in the morning to bird these hot type habitats, which we did. The main things we're looking for in these rocky canyons are things like this guy, five-striped sparrow. It used to be, they're starting to expand a little bit. It used to be you had to take a 7-mile hike down Sycamore Canyon till you hit basically a fence, which was the Mexico border. And when you go down these things, everybody takes usually about 2 gallons of water per person. You drop half of it off about halfway down, and you take the other gallon with you, and you drink that. By the time you come back, that first gallon better be gone, or you're not drinking enough. And then you pick up that second gallon on your way back up. It's a long hike, but now, like, this was found in Box Canyon, right outside of Madera Canyon. So now you can like drive up to them. Pretty nice, and they're beautiful birds. They really are. And these guys, varied buntings. These guys, a lot of times, it's kind of like a blue grosbeak or an indigo bunting. They look black, but in certain lights, you actually get the rest of the color. You get the red crown, the purple face, the eye ring, and that nice little reddish brown chest and belly. It's a cool bird. But again, a bird of rocky canyons. Now we got a couple specialty birds that you basically consistently find in a particular location. So if you want to see this, you go to a certain spot. For example, Ash Canyon Bed and Breakfast. Mary Jo Ballater passed away several years ago. Arizona Audubon picked it up and is running it, maintaining it, doing the feeders. They still run it as a B&B. They have a place that they can rent, but they have lots of hummingbird feeders. They do oranges. They do all sorts of stuff. Tim is the main caretaker here. He's a great guy. He'll sit out there with everybody. They put chairs around, and he'll sit out there and point things out to people. The specialty bird you come here for, in addition to all the really great birds that you normally see at feeders in Arizona that are Arizona specialties, are things like this guy. Lucifer hummingbird. Huge, really, like not a magenta, but a magenta purple throat. Unlike the Casas, which has the top of the head, and Casas doesn't have this little bent beak looking thing. But it's a beautiful hummingbird. But if you want to see one, Ash Canyon is pretty much where you go. This is the Walker House, George Walker House, in Paradise, Arizona, just outside of Portal, so in the Chiricahua Mountains. They've got a great setup here. Winston and Jackie are the proprietors of the George Walker House. They've been running it as a B&B for, I don't know, probably 15 years. But the last 4 years in a row, they've had white-eared hummingbird showing up. It used to be Miller Canyon. Tom Beatty's place up Miller Canyon, he would have them all the time. They haven't been there in a while. This guy started showing up at the Walker House, and it shows up again next spring. It'll be the 5th year in a row. But very distinctive, big white ear patch on that. Patton's house, Patton Center for Hummingbirds. Patton's house, the Pattons opened up their house to birders when they moved there in like 1973. And they just would put a couple chairs out, and then more people kept showing up and more. And now, once Marion passed away in 2014, Tucson Audubon picked it up, and they have expanded. They've been buying a lot of the properties around along Sonoyta Creek and producing, creating these wetland areas. They put up this whole shelter. This was the original house back here. And everybody, they would just, the Pattons early on would just have a couple chairs out here facing all their feeders along the back of the house. But now I said they're expanding this. It's an awesome place to bird because there's a lot of birds. There are a lot of birds, a lot of volunteers to maintain this. And it's a wonderful place to bird. But the thing you go there for is violet-crowned hummingbird. You can find them occasionally other places just out in the middle of nowhere. But if you want to really see one, you got to go here. This is where they regularly are found. Santa Rita Lodge. We stayed here. This is up in the Madeira Canyon. We stayed here. They have a great feeder setup. Like you see all the turkeys here, picking up all the seed scraps underneath. And for the last couple of years, the main target bird here was barrel-line hummingbird. Green head, green throat, and these brownish wings. So Arizona, in addition to these, Arizona gets all sorts of rarities. Tufted flycatcher, brown pelican. The list goes on. The best thing to do if you're planning a trip to Arizona, look at eBird, look at the alerts, find out if there's any other rarities around and where they are. Because you'll get all the other stuff. These are the hard ones to get. But they do get them, some every year. In addition to birds, you've got all sorts of other stuff. Coatimundis, regal horned lizards. These guys are really cool. Ringtails. Look at this tail. I mean, it's ridiculously long. Pallid bat, red-spotted toad. My favorite, which is the state reptile, Arizona ridge-nosed rattlesnake. Little cactus mouse at one of the restrooms just kind of staring at us. Oh, gotta go back. Scorpion. There's at least, depending on who you talk to, there's at least 30 or 60 scorpion species in Arizona. The best way to find them, if you want to just see them, go out at night with a black light. They glow like this. I mean, literally, you can see them for 10 feet away and they just glow. They're really pretty cool. Plants, scenery, everything's just cool about Arizona. It's my happy place. I love it. That's why I love leading the trips to Arizona, sharing it with everybody else. All the participants know I don't make a dime out of it. They all got refunds of unspent funds. I just go because I enjoy it. I enjoy sharing it with people. And hopefully in future years, I'll be able to do the same. However, before you ask the question, no, I will not be leading one next year. I've got my youngest daughter's getting married, and I think that takes priority. So I might have to wait an additional year before I do another Arizona trip. Huge thank you. Call out to all the participants the last 3 years. They were all wonderful people. We all had a really good time. Nobody complained, to me at least, about the 5 or 5:30 a.m. starts. Everybody was always there in the parking lot, ready to go, and we had a lot of fun, a lot of good birds, a lot of good times. And there's the participants' names, and another call out to my wife, Brenda, for supporting all my trips to Arizona and all my other birding obsessions. Thank you. So, the question is, you guys gonna visit?
Oh, yeah.
Let me get the microphone here.
Are you going to take questions?
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed. I thought the meeting started at 7. So, but there's some things you should know about Joey here. We've just listened to a living legend of Colorado, and Denver, especially birders. So Joey's been active for so long, 30 years. He has been leading a monthly bird walk at Chatfield State Park. And so Chatfield is really his second home. As a matter of fact, he's gotten an award from the Colorado Alliance for Environmental Educators in 2021 for being extraordinary environmental educator in Colorado. So that's one thing he does there, as well as a big sit. This will be his 19th consecutive year for the Big Sit, which is an internationally recognized event. This year it's going to be 2 weeks from Sunday, a week from this coming Sunday, the 12th. And what those of you that are not familiar with that is folks get together sometimes before dawn and all day into dusk and even beyond. And you sit in a circle and record as many birds as you can see and hear within that circle. And it's a worldwide event. So that's one thing that happens there. And Joey's been participating in the spring and fall counts as well. He's a former member of the CFO, Colorado Field Ornithologists Rare Bird Record Committee. He is what else can I tell you about him? He's gotten the Ptarmigan Award from our DFO, which is given to the person that makes extraordinary contributions to DFO and the study of birds in Colorado. And Joey got that in 2012. And he was also president of DFO in 1993 to 1996. And, well, you know, you can go on and on. You've been sitting for quite a while. But what a great program, Joey. Brings back memories of... Really wants to make you go to southeastern Arizona, too. But you're going to have to wait at least another 2 years, for Joey. Joey's interesting because, as you know, our speaker next month, October 13th, 2 weeks from tonight here, is going to be Chris Wood. Chris was very instrumental in founding eBirds from Cornell Laboratory of Ornithology, and he's now head of that eBird effort there. He's from Denver. He grew up in Denver. So, and looking up things about you, Joey, I found that in 1994, you, Joey, together with Chris, who was then a 17-year-old, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed birder. Oh, you did see it already. Oh, okay. Well, see.
Is this the red-faced? Yes.
All right. Okay. All right. Well, anyway. Thanks so much, Joey, for a wonderful program. I was honored to be on your program, on your trip. And I also roomed with you, so I know how much work is involved in this. Getting ice for our coolers and all the schlepping that we did. But what you did, really, I assisted a little bit. But
my
It's really,
It was my pleasure.
yeah, you are one really fantastic dude. Thanks so much.
Any questions? Go for it.
Yeah, some of those bird names that you mentioned, like
Can you use the microphone so the
Yes.
recording will?
the sparrows that have names of individuals, are they going to be changed again?
Probably not.
Okay.
My opinion, a whole bunch of worldwide bird organizations, including in the US, but worldwide, have produced a list of worldwide species called AVA list. So once they consolidate it, it's like most of our loons will stay loons. One of them is going to become black-throated diver. They're trying to standardize names across the world. So
Okay.
what we have as a common merganser, they have as a goosander in Europe. So it's like they got to come up with, let's call our spade a spade. So to change a bird name now is going to be very difficult. There's got to be a really good reason to change it, especially birds that now go to other countries. You can't just change it in your country. They're trying to keep it all standardized. So my gut feel says that's probably going to disappear. My opinion. We'll see.
Great program, Joey. And I echo what Bill said. I'm really grateful to have had the opportunity to go on your trip. It was wonderful for anyone who hasn't gone. If it comes up again,
We'll do it again.
highly recommend. Joey's amazing. I had a question though. We talked a lot about the drought when we were there, and I wondered how the
first-
monsoons were this year.
Not very good. They had some. It was a little too late, a little too little. A lot of that monsoon moisture came into Colorado instead. It hit the eastern end where Arizona, New Mexico, about halfway up is where the bulk of Arizona monsoons hit. They didn't get as much in the desert areas as they normally would. So again, I'm hoping maybe the winter rains will be good. The first two trips we took, things were green and everything. This year when we went down, our whole group was noticing there were plants without leaves. The ocotillos had no leaves on them. The creosotes were dropping leaves. That's how they deal with drought. They drop leaves. When rain hits, 2 days later, they'll have leaves. Literally 2 days. I mean, they just recover that quick. But they're trying to conserve moisture. It was very dry, and I think that also, the first 2 years we had 191 and 192 species. This year, again, because of drought, I believe, we had 227 species. We had a lot of migrants, Western tanagers out in the desert. I mean, they're still migrating. I mean, they stopped out there looking for food, which they're not finding a whole lot before they get up to the Pacific Northwest. We had hermit warblers this year. I've never had a hermit warbler in the spring. Those are usually long gone. Well, we found them in all the habitats too. Sonoran Desert, Chihuahuan Desert. We found them up in the Catalinas. It's just kind of crazy what drought will do. The birds are stopping over. They're looking for food, and when they get enough, build up those fat reserves. They'll go further north. But I think that's why we started seeing so many species this year. It was a treat, but yet it's a double-edged sword. You know, the birds are impacted too. Any other questions? Yeah.
So it sounds like your trips are in May. Is that the best time to
The
go?
two best times are probably late May, because you probably want to see the sulfur-bellied flycatcher because they come in later. Monsoon rains, usually the first, like the second and third week in August is another good time. The monsoon rains spawn a whole another set of breeding, like the Botterice sparrows and Cassin sparrows out in the grasslands. All the flycatchers are there. They're still calling. Hummingbirds probably peak during that time frame. Not only migrants, because all the ones that we talked about, plus they get the ones that we normally see, like rufous, broad-tailed, calliopes, black chins. There's lots of black chins there. And then you also have a chance for things like a plain-capped starthroat or some other odd Mexican hummingbird or other Mexican birds like Aztec thrushes or something that would show up during the monsoons and a little later. So those are probably the two times to go. The springs, first spring, second spring.
Joey, which is your favorite Sky Island and why?
Honestly, it used to be the Santa Ritas, where Madera Canyon was, because that was one of the first ones I was introduced back in '97 with Norm Erthal, Ira Sanders, and Chris Wood. We went on a bird trip. And that was my favorite for the longest time. But since then, the Chiricahuas by far. It's just, they're massive, easily accessible habitat, lots of species, very friendly people in Portal. Most of the people in Portal, a little community at the base of the Chiricahuas, where Cave Creek comes out. Most are retired school teachers. A lot of people are into astronomy. It's a dark skies area. So a lot of people have their own little observatories. And if you drive around some of the dirt roads, you'll see these little observatories out there. But they're very nature friendly, very nature conscious. And it's great having a community like that. You've also got the Southwest Research Station there. But it's a beautiful area and a lot of accessible birds.
But just no ridge-nosed rattlesnakes in the tree.
They do not have ridge-nosed rattlesnakes there, unfortunately. They got twin spotteds and other cool things, but yeah. And this year, as some of the participants will tell you, the first 2 years we would go out at night road cruising, just driving roads at night, and we'd see mammals and mice and scorpions and big centipedes and stuff, snakes. This year we saw almost nothing. Again, probably drought related.
No roadkill snakes even.
No, they just weren't out. It's so dry, they just stay underground and they'll wait till there's rain and then come out. Yeah.
I was in Arizona in March.
Mm-hmm.
Did I see a mockingbird?
They're probably there. There's probably a few that winter there. Mockingbirds are commonly there in the summertime, but I'll bet they're there year round.
I thought I saw one, but it was free.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they're around. Any other questions? Yeah.
Yes, as long as you're on the Chiricahuas. I think it'd be interesting for you to describe the difference between the east side and the west side of the Chiricahuas, plus the issue of getting there. It's
Gotcha.
quite interesting.
The east side is the best side to go in, first of all. Just it's the most beautiful. You're going in on a road up through Cave Creek, and it is just impressive. Which you can tell why Geronimo fought so hard to keep it. It is beautiful. Thankfully, it hasn't become a national park, because if it became a national park, there would be so many people visiting it. It would be crazy. The east side is actually a lot wetter. And you've got paved road for the first 5 miles, then it becomes dirt. The west side is a lot drier. It's more of the oak juniper down low and oak pine on the west side. But it's all dirt road, and it can be kind of a rugged dirt road, but most passenger cars just take it easy. You'll be fine. The Chiricahuas have been subjected, God, for the last umpteen years, fires. Some big fires have wiped out a lot of habitat. The oaks come back pretty quick. It takes pines a lot longer to grow, but it's still beautiful. It's one of my favorites. Yep. Any other questions? Okay. Very good. Well, thank you. Bill.
Come here.
Don't forget to fill out the posters on the
Yes.
side. And then also Big Sit on the 12th, so less than 2 weeks. The Heron Overlook at Chatfield. Come whenever you can, stay as long as you want, and let's see what we can find.
A big thank you for Joey. A big thank you to Sharon and the committee that organized all of this tonight. To Bill for getting Joey on the podium for us. And remember to please just take 5 minutes and walk around and add some comments to these flip charts. We need your feedback. And thank you all so much for coming. We'll see you in 2 weeks, I hope.